Hello teacups, what's brewing? Happy New Year to all of you. Pleasure to be here with you today. I hope you've all had a great New Year's evening, however you chose to spend it. I chose to be very quiet this New Year, but it's absolutely fine. Exactly what I wanted. I find the older I get, the less interested I get in going out for New Year's, but however you chose to enjoy yours, I hope you had a good time. I'm a little bit late in coming to you today, mainly because I woke up, I saw that she had posted and then rage deleted, and I thought about it and I was like, do I want the first sounds of 2023 for me to be the rage of one Chantal Marie? And I decided no, I didn't. So I made myself breakfast, I tidied the apartment a little bit. The cleaner actually came on Thursday, so I didn't have a huge amount to do, just tidying up a bit. I went for a walk. I did this. I've been debating getting back into bullet journaling. So that was like my January front page, not my original concept. I tend to just look for like January bullet journaling and then look at the pictures on Google, and that's how I get my designs. But I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to maintain it. I've made several attempts at bullet journaling before and I've gotten quite far with some of them. I tend to use it more for like trackers and things than I do for actual day-to-day, this is what I have to do today. But I like them as a thing, but I tend to get really interested in things for a short amount of time and then burn out. And I don't want to spend, I've already got like pens and things, which are the real expense when you get into something like this. But I don't have an actual journal. So what I thought I'd do, I've got some dotted paper here, and I just thought, you know what, I'll do a month or two, see if my interest maintains, and if it does, I'll go buy a nice journal. Because a nice one with good quality paper tends to be a little bit expensive, and there's no point if I'm going to waste it after a few weeks. So that's what I did today, and then I decided to listen to this. This stream was Your Mama Sucks, because she's had a rage-filled evening, afternoon, night. I suppose it was about 3 a.m. Kuwaiti time when she was doing this. So she does start this stream angry. And the reason for the anger is her experience in Your Mama's chat, which we'll get into in just a second. So she starts by saying, I was going to talk about 2023, but, and I'm sitting there like, but this is the choice you made instead, raging while Salah plays video games. That is the choice you have made to begin your new year. Very much the energy she's taking into the whole year, I'm guessing. Throughout this whole thing, she's going back and forth with the chat. She blocks people a lot. She's telling people they're dumb, that kind of stuff. Somebody made a comment about there being 2 beds, and she said that it was ridiculous. And I can believe the idea of 2 beds being ridiculous. I can believe they'd have 1 bed. But her defense was, every piece of love you have seen online is genuine and obvious. And I was like, I wouldn't choose either of those 2 words if I were describing their relationship, but I am not there. As is generally the case when she's angry about one thing, she's angry about everything. So someone asked where plain cheeseburgers was, and Chantal said, oh, she effed off. And she had some words about the whole Holy Trinity, actually. She said that they were trash, they weren't loyal, they were just trolls all along, and they're old trash. And that's generally how she views most people. Like, if they don't stick around and 100%, every moment of every day, 100% support her, they are consumable trash, and she'll throw them away. So if any of you are supporting her right now and then are surprised when this happens to you, don't be. Somebody asked her, please stop paying attention to the horrible 2% people. And she says, I think it's more than 2%, which I would agree with. And she says, yes, I have to. Soon. I'm sure it will be soon. After she's had her say, but, so long as people can't respond, that's the important thing. So it turned out she was in Your Mama's chat, and who is a reactor, I'm guessing. I feel like I've heard her name in connection with, she reacts to reactors, I think, or whatever she does. Chantal approves. So I believe it's a case of, the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of a deal. And then shocking when that didn't work out. So it turns out that Chantal was in the chat, and people, as people tend to do, turned on her in chat, and she started defending herself. when I say defending herself, I mean very much in the same way that she's defending herself today and now, which is, I'm going to trash talk everyone and insult everybody, and because they did it first, me doing it is okay, but them doing it is wrong. And that's her general argument with that. And then one of the mods was like, calm down, but didn't stop other people from talking to her. Well, talking to her, it was chat, but apparently didn't moderate the other people. And then I believe timed her out or fully blocked her, I'm not sure which. And Chantal be mad. Chantal be very, very mad. And her exact words, you're really gonna block the star of Girl World? Wow, seriously. She does put a lot of her personal worth into her position here in our little community, doesn't she? And that's not to say she isn't the center of this particular solar system. If we're going to put it like, definitely she is the sun and we're the orbiters. I'm not pretending otherwise, but man, at the end of the day, is this how you want to define your life? So anyway, you have the nerve to block me for defending myself. And remember, your mama was her most recent golden child, but as ever, she can't maintain relationships, and that's a running theme when she's trash talking the Holy Trinity. Remember, the Holy Trinity, when they left quietly, didn't kick up a fuss, but it just wasn't okay because they weren't here actively supporting her. They tried not to cause a problem when they left. So one problem at the moment that Chantal is having, and something she rants about a lot, is in regards to a community post she put up that she's now scrubbed clean, and she'll mention that later. But a community post she put up addressing a reactor called Just Breezin'. Now, some of you may be familiar with her because she, if you followed the community, she had quite a drama, I suppose it's earlier last year now, with Garlic Bread and some mess that was going on behind the scenes that frankly should have stayed behind the scenes. But no, instead everything played out online. I have the screenshot from Twitter. I'm going to put it up so that you can read her community post yourself. And because when I say my thoughts and when I say, how I'm interpreting this, I also want you to have the original source so that you can put your own interpretation in that, because it's my belief that Chantal knows perfectly what she's doing here. But let me just put that up now. So the part that we're referencing for this particular live is the section that says, as a parent, I'm sure it's hard for her to see you give your daughter away for the bottle and to also offer her to Garlic Bread if he marries you. Now that is a big fucking accusation. Excuse you, madam. Now, apparently it seems the situation was, at some point, Just Breezing had given custody of their daughter to the father so that Just Breezing could pursue some addiction counselling and just help with her drinking. And so Chantal addresses her as Just Boozin', and then the way she represents what's going on here. Now, in addition to this community post, I'm also going to put a very, very short clip of Chantal in this live and her defense of this, because again, I want to be fair and I want you to have the original sources.
These people are dumb. And then Sarah Jane comes in and she's like talking about some stupid thing that I'm like sexualizing a child. Why do people all go up for that right away? You're sexualizing a child. No, I said that Breezy was a shit parent for giving her kid away to her dad for the bottle. So what? I'm allowed to have that opinion. She calls me things every day and she goes after Missy Moo.
I find her whole response to that to be pure manipulation. She has already deleted this post because, it's much easier to defend yourself and tell people, no, you're imagining this, if it's not there to be looked at, I'm sure. But the fact is, she put up a community post accusing her of offering her daughter to a third-party male who was not like her dad or anything. And she knew how that sounded. She knew exactly what that was implying. And of course, the moment anyone goes, well, hey now, you did this thing. She's like, why is it your mind automatically goes there? God, we're clearly the problem. Our interpretation of what she's saying is clearly the problem. But you can see on the community post, no, that is not what you said. You didn't say she's a shit parent for giving her up to her dad. That is not what she said and not what she implied. That community post very clearly insinuates that Just Breezin chose to drink rather than take care of her daughter, when the reality of the situation is she chose to go get help so she could take care of her daughter. And she chose to involve the father of her daughter in that process to better support her child. And then the line about garlic bread and offering her daughter to him was absolutely out of order. Like, are you kidding? And nobody with half a brain would be able to look at that and not see it as an entirely different suggestion than the one Chantal is claiming she said. And actually, in her response, she doesn't even address that sentence because it's so hard to defend. So she just chose to ignore it. But she knew precisely the picture it was painting. And I don't care who she's writing it in defense of, it was out of line. The situation with Breezin and Gorlick just seems unnecessarily messy. But the fact is, Chantal knew what she was doing when she phrased it that way. And she phrased it particularly so that she could come back and say, no, you're being ridiculous. And the whole response of, well, why is that the first place your mind goes, is textbook manipulation and textbook Chantal. Her action response combo is how she structures it, the way she defends, the way she backs off, the way she tries to turn it around on the people saying things. We have seen this behavior from her before. It's not new to her playbook. The conversation moves on. She goes, I'm raging. I get to. It's my channel. We already did the New Year BS. What, the New Year? Calling in the first New Year with your new husband? That BS? I'm glad to see you're celebrating this well and really enjoying all the experiences in your life. She says she's not immature in life like these bottom feeders. I'm like, yeah, okay. She is blocking people left and right as she does this. It's an excellent start to 2023. You know, there's going to be a lot of changes on the horizon with her content, clearly. She claims she removed the post about Just Breezing because why would she advertise the channel? No one even knows who she is. Just Breezing has her own drama. Like, a lot of the community does know who she is, not necessarily for good reasons, but people do. And there are people who enjoy her channel. I don't personally watch her. I know her through the drama of last year. But to sit there and be like, oh no, I deleted it because why would I talk about it? No, you knew what you were doing. It's like when she says, oh, I'm going to say my piece and never again, but I'm blocking all comments. It's because she said what she wanted to say and she didn't want to deal with the backlash, which is part of the reason she's so angry. She's still talking about her, so clearly she's got no problem with potentially widening her audience. But she took the post down because she knew exactly how it looked and how it sounded, and she was worried she crossed the line. And God forbid there be consequences, right? God forbid. The idea that things live forever online is one she said, but she never really learned. She says there's no point going on a panel with Yaba. Was that on the horizon? I know Yaba and DC were in talks about it temporarily. But despite saying, like, right before the clip I showed you, she was like, someone should go on panel with them. I would even do it. So I'm like, so why are you saying right now you wouldn't? What would be the point? Well, then why did you say you would? Like, it's literally minutes apart, these statements. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think she should do it. I can't think of an example where Chantal has gone on a panel and it's ended well for her. She has too much bullshit to defend and she's too emotional to defend it well. You know, like, there's just, don't do that. It's a terrible idea. She spends a lot of time of this live saying how she's not going to address all the people she's naming, so no changes there. I think you have the right to discuss things that are presented online and to speculate and go wherever that speculation leads. Because once it's public, you've made it public. Now, Chantal has presented, for example, her finances online. Maybe not in a video of, these are my finances now, but she's talked about them enough online that it's a point of speculation, and I find it very interesting. So that's something I focus on. The same as she has presented her food, her medical issues, her drug use, her relationships, and even like extremely personal info. Yeah, but online is where it should stay, and online is where it should stop. Now, that goes for Chantal and it goes for the community. Both people just online is online, offline is offline, and never the twain shall meet. Now, the fact that Chantal has massively overshared her life in order to mine it for content when she's felt lacking in creativity means that a lot more of the private details have been placed into public view. And that was a choice she made, and now she's upset that people have more ammunition, I suppose, for want of a better word, to discuss her. So she'll go for any info she can get, online or not, to be able to lash back. And this is to the point of she has requested people send her information on any reactors that she's been targeting at the time. I've seen her in live being like, if anyone's got any information on FFGs, anyone can send me information on Charlie Gold or whoever she's been angry with at any particular moment. And this is one of those situations where Foodie really needs to practice what she preaches, because there's so much more of her online than basically anybody else. It doesn't end well for anyone. This game only ever escalates, and it's just getting ridiculous. And there's been issues with that within the community as well. Like, online is online is online. Leave it the fuck alone. But she needs to practice what she preaches, because one day she is going to try this with the wrong person and she's going to end up with legal consequences that her own messiness will prevent her from successfully arguing. Now the rage continues. She rages about her cats and people's response to her cats, about Nada boasting to his barber about how much money he made when he didn't, and about Yo Mama's mods while blocking people. Like, this goes on for a while. She blocks a lot of people. I'm sure we'll go in for a softly apology community post later at some point going, I've unblocked everybody, please be respectful, let's all try and treat each other well. She also says the hamster is happy with the cage he has, because some people are still questioning it. The cage still seems very small, like definitely better than the old one was, but not that much better, you know? Like, I feel like they need more. She says that she's going to go home for a short time. She was saying she's going to go home for a month before. Now it's like 3 weeks to a month. But she mentioned she has travel plans, which they're going to talk about later. And she also reiterates that she's not talking trash. She's defending herself, which is apparently different. She has a go at a commenter who mentions finances. She says, I still have plenty of money and so does my husband. Now, plenty is relative, and they are fortunate enough to have a roof and have all their needs met within the housing that they have. So that to many people could be plenty. You know, I have enough for my needs is a fortunate position to be in, especially these days when it's harder to maintain lives on wages when everything's going up. So on one hand, yes, be thankful for that is a world of plenty compared to many. However, currently Sala is paying for everything because her cards apparently don't work, which she's going to have to fix if she wants to make it home from the Canadian airport. Not even home from Kuwait, because I'm guessing she's already booked her flight. But she needs to do something like get an Uber or something when she comes home. So she's going to have to sort that out if her cards are blocked. But it really depends on if a block has been put on her entire account or if she just can't use it abroad and it'll be fine when she gets back to Canada. I personally wouldn't want to show up in Canada and not be sure if I could get a ride home. But we know for a fact that she doesn't have plenty of money given the cost she's facing when she gets home. She's got her tax, she's got the Kia, which is on its last legs and might not even work when she gets home because it's been sitting still for 3 months. She mentioned once she has a loan that she just pays the minimum on and doesn't really think about. When she was discussing a few things coming out of her account, she was like, I don't know where my money goes. But she mentioned that one. So she's still got all of that. And she rails a little bit at people. Someone described where she was living as a cinder block, I think, and saying, you know nothing of the Middle East or of apartments here. Excuse me. This is one area where I can safely say, actually, I do. Have I privately rented? No. But have I lived in apartments in the Middle East? Yes. Now, is she talking directly to me? No. It's much more likely to be FFG or Yabba, but we're all reactors. She's addressing everyone, and this is the problem with yelling at the world. Sometimes different parts of the world answer. Now, I have done apartment tours on my Milk Tea Chilled channel. Yeah, you can see the inside of my apartment if you want. It's nothing special. Here's the thing. I don't earn a huge amount of money. Teaching doesn't pay that well. I'm fortunate I have plenty for my position, because you also don't pay income tax in Oman and I don't have to pay rent because it's included in my contract. So there's some big expenses I don't have to pay. But I live in an average apartment that I like very much, and I live a pretty average life. I'm not out here thinking I'm a high roller, okay? I can say my apartment doesn't look like hers. I don't hate her apartment, but I don't look at it and think, oh, that's nice. It functions. I think part of it is how it's presented. I think they could present it better. I don't like her kitchen. I think that could be a lot nicer. Now, the point of all this is I have lived in apartments all over with different standards in terms of, how much of the kitchen is actual kitchen stuff. So in China, you have long counters, but you usually just have a hot plate, and because it's normal to have like a rice cooker and somewhere to cook a wok. So the idea of kitchen facilities aren't huge. But I'm telling you, even going by Kuwait standards, whatever her rent is, her housing is on the cheaper side, for sure. And you can see even before they moved there, the kind of housing Salah was in. Now, that is not a judgment on them. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to do. But I'm saying, to sit here being like, no, we have plenty of money and flexing a little bit. There is an argument as to how we interpret the word plenty, but I wouldn't consider Chantal's life currently as being burdened with an overabundance of funds. Now, I don't think Salah works, does he? She did mention that he perhaps had a new job. I think there was talk at one point that he worked in a phone shop or something, which is a perfectly acceptable job. But if he were earning any kind of bigger wage, if he was a skilled worker, you would expect a different type of housing, generally speaking. Now, none of this is an insult, as I say, but there are different kind of levels of housing, I suppose is the best way you can do it. And she's on the cheaper end. She's in an apartment, probably not city centre, because those kinds of apartments tend to just be a bit fancier. She did mention at some point, she said, well, some people have more expensive villas, but we don't have one of those. And again, no shade at all. I don't think they need one. But there is a standard to the housing internally that you would see that you don't see at hers. And that is completely because of the type of building and the type of rent she's paying. And before anyone gets mad, Foodie out there pretending she doesn't watch a number of other reactors to see what people are saying, I'm saying that as the voice of experience living in 2 countries in the Middle East now. Sorry, got a little bit sidetracked there, but she moves on. When I want to be positive, I can. I just want to not have to worry about all these people. While I'm sure the pressure of the size of the community that revolves around her can get to her sometimes, or a lot of times, her choice to be positive or not is entirely within her power. This is what she's choosing. She didn't have to. Now, she does mention, and this kind of connects back, that she wants a McDonald's salad and to try Big Tasty for everyone. And she needs to convince Salah because he's the one obviously paying and going to get it. And she thinks she made him mad because he doesn't like it when she comes online and addresses idiots. And that's why he's not in chat. And I was like, oh, interesting. She says, if he sees people she's ranting about in Canada, they're done. And I'm like, so he's coming to Canada? When do we think this is going to happen? But I found it interesting anyway that she's online raging despite her new husband disapproving of it, despite the fact that he seems to want to turn the other cheek a little bit more than she does. He just doesn't see the point of her going online and raging. And that's a good place to be because every time she does this, it does not help her. And he seems to at least recognize that a little bit. This leads on to a little bit of money talk. She says, I can't use my money here. I don't know how. My Canadian money is worth nothing here. And God, Chantal and her understanding of exchange rates again. I'm dying. The more she says it, the more she really doesn't understand what an exchange rate is or how it works at all. It's killing me. But anyway, please call your banks and get your cards unblocked or figure out what's going on with them. I've got to do something now and I can't do it because it's New Year, so maybe it's a problem with that. I tried to make a payment to my credit card the other day because I purchased something for a birthday that's in a few days' time. I sent it and then I wanted to send the cash to my credit card to pay off the balance so it could be on zero again. And it's just saying, nah, it won't let me pay online from my debit account to my credit account with the same bank. And so I went onto the desktop version thinking it was my app, and it said, oh, the bank has blocked payments from this payee. And I was like, the payee is your bank. I don't know what's going on with it, but it's New Year right now, so I have to call them and figure out exactly what's going on. You can do that. It's a bit of a pain to have to call, but it's not the end of the world. You know, she will have a number, like an international number, that is on the back of the card in case anything happens while you're abroad. Because if you're traveling and your card gets blocked for security reasons, which is what usually happens, you need to be able to call them. If she was on holiday and didn't have Salah to rely on. But I was thinking about this, and really, it makes no sense to her to get it unblocked until right before she goes, because he is paying for everything. And even if her income is way down, she's got a lot of costs she's got to pay when she gets back home, especially if she's going to have to start sorting out her finances, which is going to be insane. So for her, she's not paying for food and stuff there, so all that money is staying in her account. She does still have fixed expenses in Canada, but she is just, all her variable expenses, which was the majority of her expenses, they're not happening right now. So she can build up money pretty quickly. And like I said in my last react, she's very goldfish-like in how she views any moment in time. No other moment exists. So I think one of the reasons she's so confident is she's like looking at her bank balance, because you can still look online and stuff. There's nothing that would stop her, for example, transferring that money internationally to Salah's account. She could do that and pay her way. And who knows, maybe she is. I don't think she is. From the way she's talking about it, I don't think she is. But that could be something she could have done. So for her, she's got thousands in the bank that she's not spending. So screw everybody. No, look, she is absolutely fine, because she's not thinking about a month in the future when she goes back to Canada and she has to face all these things, because she's got money now, this second. There was a brief conversation about kids, which, no. She used the phrase, when we have kids, because this was in response to reactors who are parents, because it's not allowed apparently. When we have kids, I'm not going to spend all my time online dissecting what people say about me. I would like that clipped, because if, God forbid, if she ever somehow got approved, which she never will, but God, I got a feeling that wouldn't age well. I don't think she'd be able to stop herself. She said, I feel differently about kids now. I guess I've never had someone where I wanted to have kids with them before. I don't know about, like, BB was a whole thing. BB wanted kids and she couldn't give them to him. I think he wanted his own kids though, so that's a slightly different conversation. But they broke up, and I realised that it is a different situation, and their relationship seemed to be getting a little bit stale at the end there, so it's kind of different. But she didn't want to break up with him. That, like, she had technically brought up the, well, do you want to break up? And he just hadn't disagreed. But she was upset, rightly so. It was a long-term relationship. But I don't know, I could have sworn that she originally, in as much as she wanted kids at all, which she didn't, she would have had kids with him if she could have. And I think that's what this comes down to, which is why, again, I don't think she should have kids. I think she wants them because she thinks Salah wants them. Or maybe he does want them and they've discussed it, I don't know. But I don't think that's a good reason to have them at all. I think it ends up being a more inflated sense of getting the hamster is just another way for her to cling to him, and I don't bring kids into that, please. She talks about Ramadan and how she's looking forward to doing Ramadan in Kuwait and how she needs to learn the prayers. She was saying you can fast all day and eat all night, which is true. To be fair, the timing of it would actually suit her, because once you have the iftar in the evening, you can just eat and drink all night. And that's one of the reasons usually that places are closed during the day until quite late, because people, if they are able to, will like sleep in the day or just have a very, let's say non-high effort, but that sounded a little awkward, have as relaxed a day as possible where they're not pushing themselves too hard, because when you fast, you also can't drink, which she mentions here. She doesn't think you can have water, you can't. She mentions that she's calculated about 2 years to get her shit together at home. I'm guessing she's talking financially speaking. 2 years of a consistent plan would definitely help her. But it's the consistency that generally gets her, I think. She's not great at delayed gratification. I don't know if having Salah or the idea of Salah coming to live in Canada would be enough to keep her on the straight and narrow as she needed to. Because it's hard. It's hard to budget. It's hard to deny yourself things you want. And she is not good at it. So I'm not sure how far that would get her, to be completely honest. And 2 years for the amount of mess she's in seems very ambitious, to be honest. But it depends. When she says gets her shit together, does she mean paying off the Canadian Revenue Agency? Does she mean for the bankruptcy to be off her record and for her to be able to sponsor? Like, there's a lot of different kind of goalposts there, and I don't know how all-encompassing it is. But I tell you what, if she went home and she had that content, I would actually love it. Her finances have always interested me. I do budgeting videos on my other channel, so I like financial discussion. I find it interesting. And the idea of her going back and getting herself like financially sorted and to have some kind of mindfulness about like money and budget and follow her life as she did it, I would be here for that shit. I'm not saying she's gonna do it, but it's content that I enjoy. Like, I would be here for it. And she's never been married before, so I don't know how much that would motivate her and how much it wouldn't, to be honest. Guys, back to the travel plans. Oh my God. We're going on a tour of the Mount Everest base camp. Oh my God. It's a 14-day trip. It's on his bucket list. I don't know if she just threw that out as a justification, because she has mentioned the Mount Everest base camp dream before. So the idea of them actually doing it, oh God. Is this the trip she was actually talking about though? Because she'd said, because she was going to go home for a month, yeah? And she's saying, oh, it might be 3 weeks, might be a month, because we've got travel plans. Does she mean they've booked this? Like, is this a thing? And I'd imagine if they booked this, then financially she had to be involved. There's no way he would have been able to afford just booking both of them, I'm assuming, but I don't know his finances. Maybe he did. But that's soon. That would be like she comes back, if it was 3 weeks to a month, she'd come back in February and then they would go. Oh, I don't even know how that would, like, with a tourist visa, once she left, she'd have to apply for another tourist visa while she was there, so that she could get back in. Oh, I wonder. Because could you imagine if it's soon, even if she goes on like a diet or whatever, because she mentioned she had to get healthy for it. Like, she is not going to have made a lot of progress in that time. That's a lot. And then they were talking about it near the end of the stream. And he was like, oh yeah, plane takes you about 2,000 and then you have to walk about 3,000. And she seemed very shocked by that. I think she thought she could just be kind of flown out most of the way so she could just see it. And she doesn't seem massively prepared, let's put it that way. And they've obviously got a particular trip in mind, whether they've booked it or not. So I'll be very interested to hear more details about that as it gets closer, because ooh, that is a lot. There's a lot of elements to that I would like to discuss. Someone says she hadn't changed since being in Kuwait. Remember, she's going through anger cycles here. She says she gets triggered and rages, but they're ignoring every other change, basically, as a response. And I'm like, what other changes have there been, though? Anything to do with substances is illegal, so that's not a change that she instigated or maintained. And she still eats out every day. So what changes has she made to her behaviors that she can control? Because I think that's far less. I'm not going to count religion, although I know that's a big one, because I can't see anything she has done other than say, no, I'm changing. And any other behavior, like, her hand has been forced. So I'm inclined to say no, she hasn't changed. But again, we will see what she can maintain when she goes to Canada, but she gets quite annoyed when people start pointing those things out. She keeps excusing her lower views, saying that It's because of stream snipers, which keeps leading her back into like mini rants about reactors and all of that. So then Sala comes online. Bear in mind that we saw the layout of their apartment, right? It's small. When she's on the couch recording, his table is literally within arm's reach. So instead of just walking in, Sala comes online and is in the chat, and then she starts calming down a little bit and talking about other things. So for all she's triggered and can't control herself, the moment Sala is there, she gets pretty good at controlling herself. She starts asking Sala to get food, she mutes for a sec, and then Sala is on stream with her and they debate getting Talabat, which is the Middle Eastern version of like Uber Eats. They have it here actually. Sala mentions he's tired a few times and Foodie doesn't seem to be getting the hint because Foodie's hungry. Sala is having surgery on his toe next week. Apparently he's got like an ingrown nail. He leaves to go get food, and Foodie asks, why are people still raging? Like, because people are still chatting in her chat. She gushes about Sala for a bit, and she said she asked God for someone she could spend her whole life with, and he gave it to her. And I just kind of bit my tongue at that point. I was like, moving on. If you care about her weight, she mentioned that when she went to the scale in the museum, she was 327. Why was there a scale in the museum? I don't understand. So Sala comes back with Hardee's, Foodie's kind of giggly fake persona comes out, and then nothing else really happens except the absolute moment of mind blown when she realizes, oh, I might have to actually walk up Everest. So there we go. That's as far as it goes. They did have about 20 minutes of them being on stream together, but really it was just back and forth. The usual kind of non-conversation they have back and forth. So that's where we are. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Have a happy new year. Bye-bye.